It takes strength to be kind. A lot of people view kindness as weakness. I disagree. I think the stronger you are, the better you're going to be to the people around you. Hey, you! It's AD Roundtree. Welcome to this, your Thursday edition of the show. Yeah, Thursday. You know what that means? That means this time tomorrow, you will have officially made it through yet another week. This is no small accomplishment. You're doing awesome. Hang in there. You got this. You are a badass. And if you need something, if there's anything I can do for you to make your Thursday better, hit me up. I'm here with you. I'm here for you. At ADSXE. It's where you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at ADSXE. Put it in your phone now in case you need it later. So, you and I have talked about this a bit in the past, but my goal, my hope, my dream for this podcast is it's a place where we can come together and share the things that we are maybe struggling with. If you have something that you're trying to learn, earn, achieve, accomplish, or become, if you're hitting some roadblocks, if you are facing something in your life that seems insurmountable, I'm not qualified to give advice on this, not in any way, shape, or form. But I do know that when you talk things through, when you hear your story from someone else's perspective, a lot of the time things become a lot more clear. Things tend to fall into place. I realize that the conversations you and I have been having on the radio for the last 17 years helped get me through, and I wanted to keep them up when my time on your radio came to an end. So thank you for joining me. If you have something you're dealing with and you'd like to talk about it with the people listening to the show who are free to weigh in and offer suggestions and help, I would love that. Hit me up and let me know. Like I said, at ADSXE on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or I'm here with you, I'm here for you at gmail.com. I got a really, really nice message from Gina on Facebook who said, AD, I've listened to you for years. I loved you when you were snarky and obnoxious, and I love you more for what you've become. I love that you've become kinder and more empathetic. How did you do it? I have a young son, and I want him to grow up to be like you. Well, first and foremost, that is an unbelievable compliment. Thank you so much. And I don't know, if you are thinking about the type of person you want your son to grow up into, I would imagine that you're way ahead of the curve in terms of raising a good human being. But it's interesting. You are not the first person to notice that when I started on your radio many years ago, when I was sort of a snotty punk rock kid that was fresh out of his time being in a rock band, I was not necessarily the most good-hearted soul on the radio. I had kind of a vicious sense of humor. I had fun at a lot of people's expense. I was snarky and obnoxious. And, well, funny in a way that, what's the best way I can put this? I was kind of misunderstood. I was kind of crass. And, well, I decided I would be the biggest, most crass person I could be. That led to competitions like Battle of the Belches on the air, which led to big rating success at nighttime when I was first on. So I just kind of sort of rolled with it. And a couple of things happened. I said a lot of things that I really believed were funny, but I didn't necessarily believe them to be true. Does that make sense? There are times where I thought things were so clever and so funny that I just had to say them. And, well, here's the thing that led to that I did not like. I didn't like being misunderstood. Generally speaking, even when I was snarky and punk rock and obnoxious on the air, generally speaking, when I remember somebody that I used to have this TV show, and I remember one of the program directors for one of the stations that carried it told me that I raised not giving an F to an art form. And I took that and I ran with it. And for a long time, I genuinely did not care. If it offended you, if you hurt your feelings, hey, you don't have to watch, you don't have to listen, I'm just being me. And I really, really enjoy, all my favorite comedians are pretty vicious. All my favorite comedians are pretty, they're not PC, that's for sure. A lot of the people that have made me laugh the hardest in the past are people who maybe society has a pretty big problem with these days. But here's the thing. There's a difference between having a sense of humor that is geared toward that sort of thing and actually being that person. I wasn't that person. I always cared about people. I always wanted people to do well. I guess underneath it all, I was kind of a compassionate person. And when I say underneath it all, I do mean that. Look, I am somewhere buried deep down in my DNA, a punk. The things that informed me in my life were things like Beastie Boys, things like Black Flag, Bad Brains. These were all bands that said to me, F authority, F society, F what people expect you to do. Just go be yourself, question everything, be the best version of yourself you can be, and forget what anybody thinks. And like I said, that's hardwired into my DNA, and I do think a lot of that is very, very valuable as you go through life. And that's still very much me. However, when you are living your life with that type of sort of snarkiness and cynicism and attitude that everyone in the world is out to get you and you're going to check them before they get a chance to do anything to you, well, there's a lot of cynicism at play. That attitude. And many people spotted it. You are not alone. Everyone from program directors to the salespeople I worked with, when you're a great guy, but you've got an attitude on you. And I did. There's no two ways about it. Still do. But I guess the thing was, I didn't want to be misunderstood. I didn't want to be seen to be someone who did not care, because I really did. I cared deeply. The reason I was on the radio then, and the reason that I was on the radio up until a little while ago, was because I love the radio. I love keeping people company when they need it. That's exactly what radio did for me back in the day. Still does to this day. I wanted to do that. I wanted to keep you company when you needed that company. I wanted to be able to brighten your day a little bit, whether it was with a laugh or a piece of information about music or something that made you feel understood or something that made you feel like someone was on your side, something that made you feel as though someone in this world was on the same page as you. I wanted to do that. I wanted to make your day a little bit better every single chance I got. Now, initially, I wanted to do that with snarky, mean-spirited laughter because that's what I like to listen to. And I just did not like the whole thing where people thought they would hear me say something outlandish on the radio and think that was who I was. And A, that probably caused some people to tune out. The ratings were really good, but they probably could have been better. And B, well, I really do want to keep you company. I really do want to make you feel like someone's got your back when you're listening to me on the radio, because I do. I care about you. I don't care which side you're on. I don't care about politics. All I know is that I'm on your side. All I know is that ultimately in life, I want to be a friend. I want to be your friend. And, well, that was wrapped up in a fairly spiky package when I first started out. And I did not like that it led to me being misunderstood. And also, here's the thing about raising up a kid that is going to be kinder and more empathetic. I think it takes real strength to be kind. I think it takes real self-confidence to be a little bit vulnerable. And early on in my career, I don't know if I had that strength. And I certainly didn't have that confidence because I was still proving myself. I thought I was the best, but the world had yet to recognize it. I was toiling away in overnights and nights, and I felt like I should be doing bigger and better things, and I hadn't been given an opportunity to do that yet. It's just the natural way of things in someone's career. It takes time to get where you're going. And I think a lot of people in their early 20s, when they're still trying to prove themselves, have that insecurity, which leads to you being a little bit obnoxious. What's the old expression? $30,000 a year millionaire. You have a sense of your worth, and the world hasn't yet recognized it. So with your meager salary, you're going to go out and you're going to purchase things, cars, homes, whatever it is, that make it look like you are in a much different place financially than you actually are. So the world recognizes what you see in yourself already. I think. And it's just not necessary. But oftentimes when you're going through it, you don't see the ridiculousness of situations like that one. So I would say the real trick to raising someone who's able to be kind and compassionate is raising someone who has confidence in themselves, feels good about themselves, who is strong within themselves. I'll give you a perfect example. One of my favorite people ever to grace the face of this planet, Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton started doing everything that she was doing in the world of country music in a decade where, well, a female in charge was definitely not the norm. And that could have really kind of dented her spirit. But whatever alignment of stars and planets that caused Dolly Parton to be the way that she was then and is now. By the way, Dolly Parton started dominating the game of country music and songwriting and everything else that she was doing long before I think a single woman who was not married could get a mortgage. Yeah, I think it was in the very early 70s that a woman without a man co-signing for her became able to get a mortgage. In the grand scheme of things, not that long ago. And Dolly Parton started running the show during a day and age where, well, A, she was in entertainment, B, she was in country music, and C, she was doing this in a time where a woman, she can't get a mortgage? What does she know about, how homeowning and paying for stuff? No. We can't give a woman a mortgage. The economy would collapse, which is, of course, horrific, misinformed garbage. But my point is, Dolly Parton became Dolly Parton and stayed Dolly Parton during a time when it was probably not easy to be Dolly Parton. And she continues to go through life now the way she started out then, with just unbelievable amounts of kindness and compassion for everyone around her. It could have been easy to become snarky and judgmental and jaded and cynical. But to me, that punk rock cynicism that I grew up in, that thing that attracted me to bands like Black Flag and Bad Brains and Beastie Boys and made me have that FU attitude, that hard baked it into my DNA that when someone told me to do something, my first response was to be like, yeah, suck it. That cynicism, I think, comes from, well, not necessarily. No, I'd still advise you to question everything and be a cynic a certain amount of the time. But that's like a suit of armor. That's something that you wear to protect yourself when you're not confident in your ability to navigate the world's more difficult situations. And I find that the kinder someone is, there's a good chance they're a very, very tough cookie. And somewhere along the way, this combination of not wanting to be understood and this combination of having a little bit more confidence in myself allowed me to start being kinder and more empathetic to other people. I remember the day I sort of made a distinction. When you're on the radio every single day and you're talking to the better part of 1 million people every single day, or whatever the hell the number was by the end of it, it was a lot, and someone tells you you suck, well, early on, someone would tell me I would suck, and I would argue with them about why I didn't, how I was right and they were wrong, and, oh yeah, well, why don't you think I suck? Why don't you let me listen to you on your radio show and I'll see how you do it? Oh wait, you don't have one. Shut up. That was basically my response. And, well, that was because I still didn't know in my heart of hearts that I didn't suck. I still hadn't had the recognition or the proof from the universe that I didn't suck. But eventually, well, you kind of get where you're going. And one of the things about being in radio and having a little bit of success is that your success leaves a very tangible paper trail of ratings. And I did really, really well in the ratings game for many years. And it got to the point where someone would say, "You suck," and I would go from being like, "Oh yeah, let me tell you all the reasons you're wrong. Plus, if you see me out and about, try saying that to my face. See how that goes for you. Let's go, bitch." That was my basic reaction. And certainly an understandable one. Someone comes up to you and says you suck, or someone emails you and says you suck, you have every right to be defensive. But as I got to be more confident in myself, as I had this long ratings history of success demonstrating very clearly that I didn't suck, when someone said you suck, I'd be like, no, I don't. But thank you for writing. I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad you care enough about the radio station to point out the things that you do and do not like. Hope to catch you at another time. And it became easier to do that sort of thing as I had more confidence in myself, as I had more belief in myself, as I basically became a stronger person. The stronger I got, the better I was at being nice to people. You and I have talked about this on the show before. The cooler you are with yourself, the cooler you're going to be with the people around you. If you are self-loathing, chances are you are going to give the people around you plenty of reasons to loathe you as well, as I know I did. So, I don't have the secret to raising up someone who is like me. I do know that this version of me that you appreciate, well, it took a while to get there. And I don't know if you can rush that. I don't know if you can force it. But I do know that so much of it comes from confidence is a strong word. I would rather say being cool with yourself. I know it comes from being cool with yourself. I know it comes from having belief in yourself. I know it comes from having a sense of your own worth. And, well, that can come from a lot of different places. But I think, honestly, if you are raising a kid, a big part of the way it can come to that kid is through you. And look, it must be a balancing act. It must be a game of Jenga when you are raising a kid, knowing how much is too much, knowing how much is not enough. My parents raised me very independently. You want to go somewhere? Well, here's a bus schedule. You walk to the bus stop, take that to the train station, and call us when you get there. I learned how to navigate the world thanks to my parents' very hands-off attitude towards some stuff. And it made me very independent, and it made me able to exist in the world in a way that I don't know a lot of the kids I grew up with could when they were younger. But I also don't know if it was enough. It's a balancing act, and I don't think any parent ever really gets it right. But anything you can do to make that kid know that kindness is a sign of strength, to make that kid know that they are strong enough to be kind, that they have enough about themselves to feel good about, that when the world tries to run them down, they don't have to worry about it. That is what I would do. And if you are working on yourself, if you're working on your relationships with people around you, as I did for many years, I had a lot of bridges to mend as I was trying to figure out how I wanted to go through the world. I would encourage you to remember that. The cooler you are with yourself, the cooler you're going to be with people around you. I guess the only other thing I would say is I've come to the conclusion in this world that if you have an opportunity to do something for somebody else, you should just do it. It's not necessarily going to come back to you instantly. You should just do it without any expectations. It's probably going to make you feel good. It might make the other person feel good. In theory, it'll make you both feel good. But I find that the more I help people, the more I can be a good teammate to humanity in general, when I get an opportunity to, the better I feel about myself and the more apt I am to be kind. It really is its own reward. If you're looking for it to come back to you, if you are in a position to help someone and you're looking for someone to help you out when you're in a bind later on in life, it's not always going to work that way, and that can be frustrating. But it can make you feel a whole lot better about yourself. And that, like I said, really is its own reward. And it is a sign of your strength. It takes strength. It takes diction to be able to have a job on the radio. It takes strength to be kind. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of my radio family. As always, this time that you and I spend together, it's the best part of my day. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. Have a great one. Later.